Welcome back to another edition of The Culture. It's 10K Dre. Today we're going to do things a little bit different. We usually have a song that we review and give a little bit of history on the artist. For this instance, we still cover 1985, but this artist, I can't find his any of his material from 1985 online, but I do want to kind of just dive into his history since it's pretty interesting. All right, so DJ Krush, he's a former Yakuza member from Tokyo who went into a cinema in 1983. He watches a hip hop film from the South Bronx and decides that his entire life is about to change. He can't rap, he doesn't want to chase fame, but he just wants the turntable, a crate of records, and that leads to him having one of the most important music careers that you've probably never even heard of or known about. This is DJ Krush, and in 5 minutes you're gonna understand why he matters. So he was born Hideaki Ishi in Tokyo in 1962. Krush dropped out of school young, ended up working for the Yakuza. He left after finding a severed finger on his desk that turned out to belong to a friend. You know what I mean? I find a finger, I'm gonna be like that too. I'm out of here. So anyway, in 1983, the movie that he went to see was Wild Style, which of course is a landmark Bronx hip hop film. This rewired his whole brain completely. He becomes a DJ, and after doing a demo in 1985, he fast forward, we get to 1987, and he co-founds the crew called Crush Posse, which would become one of Japan's first serious hip hop groups, performing in the streets of Harajuku alongside breakdancers and building an actual audience. So when Crush Posse finally disbands in the year 1992, he decides to go solo. He stripped everything back to the essentials, no MC. He just focused on production and used the turntable as his instrument. All right. So in 1994, his debut, Strictly Turntableized, this drops on Mowax Records. This is a London label that essentially invented trip hop. It would become home to DJ Shadow and the group known as Portishead. Now, I've heard Portishead album actually back in, this era. Their album was banging. I can't even really tell you what type of genre Portishead falls into. It was like jazz, hip hop. It was some whole other shit, but they like an alternative type of label where he would fit right in for 1994. So all that said, Europe immediately hopped on his wave. He has fan base in Europe. He popping now. So then in 1995, he drops Meiso, and this is the one for him. This album was a dense, jazz soaked, filled with meditative hip hop instrumentals. It even include guest spots from Black Thought, CL Smooth, Guru from Gangstar, and a young DJ Shadow on the 9 minute centerpiece titled Duality. That track helped launch Shadow's international career, and basically Miso charted, very well in the UK. And for an instrumental Japanese hip hop record from an independent label, that was entirely unheard of for that time. So the sound of the album was very hard to categorize, or is hard to categorize, and this was done intentionally. Crush described it best himself. He said, trying to file this into a genre would place limits on my listeners and on my talents. It includes jazz fragments. You have vinyl crackle left in as texture. You got scratching, which is used melodically like a lead instrument. Sounds from nature were also woven in through these beats. So, it's like hip hop, but slow to a meditative pace where every element is placed with purpose. So he was on his Zen type, Phil Jackson type shit, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, DJ Krush proved three things that weren't obvious at the time. One, hip hop didn't need an MC to be complete. His work is one of the founding texts of instrumental hip hop as a serious art form. Two, hip hop was always global. He absorbed the culture from a film, brought it to Japan, and by 1995 was collaborating with New York's finest lyricists on a British label charting in Europe. No borders needed. Three, he stayed underground. That's the choice he made as an artist, and it's not a failure. He had every shot at mainstream crossover, but he turned down the opportunity every time. And because of that, albums like Meiso and Jaku from 2004 sound just as vital today as they did when they dropped. So, in conclusion, former Yakuza, turntable poet, global hip hop ambassador, start with Miso, then Jaku, then from there go as deep down his discography as you want to go, and drop a favorite track in the comments, from DJ Krush. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. A holla.